Hello to all my friends and listeners. I am your host Vinay Srivastav and I am back with another episode of Wincast. Recently, we celebrated the festival of Dussehra or Vijayadashmi all over the world. This festival is celebrated as a sign of victory of good over evil. A day in which Ram killed Ravan. A day in which we burned the effigies of Ravan. Let us understand the trigger of this war between Ram and Ramayan. Apparently, when Ram and Lakshman and Sita they were in the jungle in exile and they saw a golden deer. So, while they were going to fetch that golden deer, they built a Lakshman Rekha or a line around the place where they were living. And they asked Sita not to cross that Lakshman Rekha. And the hell broke loose only when the Lakshman Rekha was crossed. Isn't it that what happens in the corporate world also? Our whole work culture revolves around drawing a line. Do's and don'ts, SOPs, processes, manuals. I am not at all saying that they are not required or they are not good. But there's a Lakshman Rekha drawn towards each and every employee, what they are supposed to do, what they are not supposed to do. It becomes so difficult for the leaders to delegate their authorities or give power to someone else. Why is it so difficult for them and why they do not want to give their piece of responsibility, accountability to the people who are working with them, to their teammates, all those who are in their team? Let us explore that today. I recently attended one panel discussion about leadership where they spoke about succession planning and how do I make a second line. The answer was simple. I drew one line on the whiteboard and drew another line against that, and that was the second line. But is the answer so simple? Can I create a second line just by drawing another line in front of the line that I represent or I signify? In most of the organizations, when the leaders fall or leave, they become clueless how to go forward. Yes, there are SOPs, manuals, processes, actions, experience, everything is there, but still the leadership qualities or the person who is sitting at the helm, what he brings to the fore does not come forward in the second person or the person who succeeds or takes over him. So let us understand how do we actually create a realistic second line. How do we make this second line important and practical? So first of all, when we create a second line, we have to make that line bolder. What I mean by that is we have to empower that second line. unless and until I give them the empowerment and independence to act, take actions, own up for that, that second line becomes a second line only in theory. The second part of creating a viable second line is to make that second line stronger and longer. Once you create a second line which is an equal to you, then slowly and slowly you have to make sure that second lines become big. This line has to become big by way of experience. When they taste the experience of leadership, they gain experience. They know how to act in a particular circumstance. Then they become bigger and longer. The third point is make them brighter, which means let your second line shine. How do you make your second line shine? Either you push them forward or you take one step backward. But make sure that you are present, which means that the second line slowly becomes brighter, shinier, bolder as you take a back seat, but you make sure that you are present so that when that second line, in certain circumstances, if they fall, you are there to handhold them. You are there as a mentor. You are there as a support to the second line. And finally, you as the first line. As the first line, you have to be very flexible. Very flexible so that when the second line falls or it deviates, you make sure that you are able to control them. You are able to make sure that you are able to guide them. And once you do that, that Lakshman Rekha or that sacred line gets diminished. And then each and every one in the team, in the organization, runs towards a pursuit of that golden deer or maximizing profits or the goals of the organization. While you are doing all this, there are other lines also, other lines floating around the first line and the second line. You have to make sure that all these lines support the second line. And when these lines are supporting the second line, this line becomes stronger, bolder, and shinier. That's all from me today. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.